Good evening and welcome to Not a Good Hockey Pod, episode 10. I'm your host, Alex, and this burly bearded bastard's my co host, Mick. What
What's up?
the fuck?
The
You
thing's,
do this every time. Actually, nailed it for the first time in 2 episodes.
dude, my thing's being weird. All right, we're good. Wait, what are you doing?
Okay,
You bringing us in?
yeah, we're gonna redo it. We're gonna redo it.
God, ready to do
Ready?
it.
Good evening and welcome to Not a Good Hockey Pod, episode 10. I'm your host, Alex Nez, and this burly bearded bastard's my co host, Mick Finley. Dude, I fucking got it right for the first time in 2 episodes. Let's go.
You know what's
Uh,
funny is that you nailed that, but I'm keeping the one you fucked up too. So everyone's just gonna see this whole minute long mess.
I actually didn't even fuck it up the first time, really. It's just you just look so confused every single time that we go into this thing, so it throws me off. I'm just concerned about your feelings. That's all this comes down to. Anyways, fuck, I'm so sick of you. Anyways, what's happening in this fucking world? We haven't
Wh-
talked in about a week. What's going on
What's
in
it?
the NHL? What's going on in the hockey world? How you feeling? The
Yeah.
fans are
What?
back. I'm feeling all right. We're gonna win the cup.
I'm so excited for you, man, that you're gonna win the cup because guess what? We're winning the cup too. Okay.
Oh man, we're
Both
doing it together again.
hold it. Both hold it. Pass it back and forth. Two champions, same year. That's what's gonna happen.
Can't wait.
But before we lie to ourselves, let's talk about other stuff. So what's happening? You asked me what's happening. What's happening? I'm feeling all right, man. It's less anger. There's some concerns, but less anger, right? Like um I think one of the best things about losing your coach is that you have like grace now, right? You have grace with all the crap. You're like, yeah, whatever, right? Some of it, I'm, like, yeah, sure, that's fine. Some of it, I'm just tired of, but we'll get into the nitty gritty on there. How am I doing? I wish I was dead, um, but I'm still here. So let's do
You
this,
know,
baby. How about you, man? How you been?
I think we're on the same wavelength. I wish I could just be unalived. You
Yep,
know, just that's why I'm gonna use that word so we can possibly get monetized one of these years.
love
But
that.
we're in the thick of it. We're here. We're thugging it out. So
Hmm.
there's no other way around it. We're on this roller coaster of Yinzer sports. So
Dude, have you ever seen that Jacoby Dubs online where he does Guy Ferrari and he's driving, he says straight thugging it out.
no. Damn, I thought I coined that term. That's my way
No,
of getting through every day. I just thug it out, dude. That's all we do.
no, buddy, I'm gonna have to send you that later. But for
Yeah.
for all those four listeners we got, you should check that out too. All right. Sorry, I've hit the pen again. So
Ah,
that's why I'm not angry. So we're good. All right,
there we
let's
go.
let's jump right into the news. Let's talk hockey.
Yeah,
Number
let's talk
one,
hockey.
finally a big trade, right? Pretty cool one.
An
Um,
interesting one.
I
Um,
think I think from the initial text and the way you presented it to me, we're a little divided on this. So I'm excited to talk about it. But the details you have in front of you, but David Yurchek is traded from Columbus to the Minnesota Wild, and the package is like four picks, a first, a second, I think a third and a fourth, you said?
yeah, but just like consecutive years, pretty much. You got a first round of next year,
Yeah, that's
and
big.
a defenseman. So you still have a body there for that position, and
Hmm.
then you have some pretty early picks that can do something. In 2026 and 2027, you got two in 2026.
Okay.
But a first round pick and a player and three extra picks, like I mean, is David Urchek him? Like I don't know
Yeah. Yeah.
all really about him. I've heard about him. I don't really know his style of play. I will be honest with that, but I'm just like when I just saw the draft capital for a team that we were talking about at the beginning when we started this thing that really needs to set themselves up in the next couple of years here. I just think it's odd to give up a first round pick. Like, why wouldn't you use that first round pick next year to get even more talent for Kaprizov, who is fucking going off this year? He's exactly what I thought he was going to be this year. I just thought the team around him wasn't going to carry him that well, but I was a little wrong on that one. They didn't take a step back. They look pretty tough, but I don't know. I just thought, to me, I'm just such a like a pick hoarder type of person if I were to be a GM that when
Sure.
I just see four picks and a player go out, it's just concerning a little bit. I wonder what the thought process is. I'm sure the big brains there in Minnesota know way more than I ever even can imagine. So maybe it's going to work out. But I didn't really. I was trying to dive a little bit more into Mr. David's stats over here to see what he really brings to the table to give up all that draft capital.
Okay.
Um, but he looks like a dog. So, maybe that's the reason.
So yeah, I mean, a fair question, really. You said your buddy presented it to you like, "Hey, is this a little much?" And the answer is, it could be, but David Yurchek is no joke, right? We all know I'm basically from the Czech. We all know I'm a Czech Republic guy, like big Czech Republic guy. Basically born there, basically dual citizenship, basically just
That's
here to
right.
do this pod, and then I go back to Czech, right? Because
It's Mick Finley Vitch. That's what you are now.
there's a lot of dashes above Finley, so that's how you know that it's real. Um, I will tell you this, the Czech are secretly Finland when it comes to players in the NHL. They have like
Oh yeah.
way, way, way too much talent creeping into the NHL the last 15 years.
Oh,
And I
easily.
mean, obviously there's a ton throughout history, but it's like a lot of these Czech kids are going to like Sweden or Switzerland to do like their junior stuff, and on top of that too, their development is on par with Canada, US, stuff like that. But what you don't see a lot of, and what's very, very hard to find, is defensemen from the Czech. As something I've noticed, right? Like there's a couple in the NHL, but it's not predominant, right?
Hmm.
So okay, so to answer your question, right, let's throw out the player they sent back and the three other picks and talk about the first pick for Yurchek. Okay. If I'm a GM and I'm talking with you and I'm trying to get David Yurchek off you, and I go, hey, I'm going to give you next year's first round pick, and I'm the Minnesota Wild, right? What's that? 15th to 20th, maybe is a fair estimate. Maybe they make the playoffs, probably not, but
Fair.
it's probably a 15th to 20th pick. So that's not enough because Yurchek's the sixth overall pick. He's 21 years old. He
Right.
has developed. He's you already know what you have, so he's worth start building, right? So a second, sure. First and second, sure. Columbus needing to fill a hole defensively is funny to me because I think, oddly, as terrible as that team is, their defense is pretty solid.
That's pretty solid.
Um, but they got a player back, and then they got two thirds or a third and a fourth in 26. I think that's the overpayment right there. Is
Right. That's where it's starting
potent,
to be. Okay, man.
but
Like, what are we doing? Two more extra picks. I guess even when it comes to hockey, third and fourth round picks, like, do they become as valuable as like in the NFL? Like a third and fourth is still pretty good. Like, if you really know how to draft your guys, like you can really do it. But like, when's the last time you seen like a top? Well, maybe I am really missing somebody, but like the top 100 players, like it came out of the fourth round. It's probably not too many. I can't imagine.
fourth round, I'm not really worried about. There are good players in the NHL from the fourth round. There's a few, right?
Yeah,
But
good,
but
but
but uh Kaprizov, right? Kucherov, Marchand, all third round picks.
right. I'll say third
So
round is it
third
gets a little strong
rounds,
too. I think Gensel was
sure.
around the third round too, somewhere around there.
That's insane. US born third round Gensel?
I
That's
think he was
insane. I
around the.
understand the
I
Russians
think it
going
was
a little
late. It was
later.
it was late, but
Wow. All right. Well, it's still all right. Anyway, my point is you you can hit gold with a third round pick, right? So I think that's the overpayment. I would have been absolutely fine. Actually, I am fine because this doesn't impact me whatsoever. I think it's good for your check, if anything, to get
yeah,
out of Columbus. Minnesota. So your stance on this was like, hey, if I'm Minnesota and I need to do this like rebuild or whatever, I don't think they believe that with this move. I think that's clear. I
right.
don't know what they're seeing, but what I'm seeing is. keep your picks and don't get this guy. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I also don't care at all about that team. So do whatever you want. I don't care. Do it.
You know what?
Uh,
The only Minnesota team that I care about are the Frost. That's the only
you and this
fucking thing I care
Frost.
about.
Kid's got
They're good,
frostbite.
man. They
They're
did
not good enough.
they did lose in overtime. However, they look sharp.
So I to close the book on your check, I don't think it was too much. I think it was a slight overpayment. I could be dead wrong, or we could look dumb. Who knows what your check does? He's probably going to
That's
replace Spurgeon because that guy's just always injured, and we'll just
right.
see, right? He's a big boy. He's
Right.
21. He's got the whole world ahead of him. That we might not ever think about those picks again because of what he becomes there. Rolling into PWHL stuff, though, you were just telling me some stuff on that before this pod.
Yeah, I mean, especially well for the Wild there, just to kind of cap on that as well too. I think that is like their kind of missing piece there because they do have a really strong offense. They seem to always just like develop decent goaltending there too. They can find even like washed up goaltending and still make a goddamn career out of them. So
So
yeah, if that's the only thing they're kind of like chipping at is like who knows with picks, you know what you're going to get out of this guy, like you said, like he's a top dog, top defenseman. So it's going to be a good move for them, I do think. Overall, but again, yeah, slight overpay, maybe.
maybe,
Um, but that team doesn't fucking matter when you got the Minnesota Frost sitting in there. They did lose in overtime. There was PWHL did kick off. They're looking great as a whole league, man. I just enjoy watching them again. Um, they're still on YouTube, everybody, for the six people listening to this. Go check out and subscribe to the PWHL channel on there and just watch.
yeah,
I mean, you can watch anybody. It really doesn't matter. Every team has studs on that fucking team.
right.
They're quick, they're fast, they're gritty, great shots. Just the speed in the PWHL is just so entertaining to me. I watched the first game of the season. Oh God, why am I drawing a blank already? It was Montreal and Ottawa,
Hmm.
and that game went literally just neck and neck. It was tied all the way through. They went through a 3-on-3 overtime, and then they went to a 5-round shootout, I think, or 6-round shootout. It was going on forever, and then finally, the captain of Montreal just came through and buried one, and I want to say 5-hole or something like that. But both goalies look sharp. They both stood strong. I don't know. It's just like all these teams in the PWHL just look even, so it makes it super entertaining. And I don't know, man. Like honestly, as much as my pens stink, the PWHL is now my safe haven, where it's just like, wow, I can just enjoy hockey as is without like losing more hair.
Yeah,
But it was awesome. I'm really glad that I caught it because I kind of forgot, and then I was just like, oh, I think the PWHL is starting here, and soon. Let me see if they're still on YouTube. And then it just so happens to be the first game of the season, and I was just like, what a way to kick this off, dude! I'm such a fan.
yeah.
So definitely check them out on YouTube.
I threw a game on while at work. Work got kind of busy, so I was easily distracted. But what I did notice was exactly what you mentioned, the speed. The speed is untouched. Um, and I don't know if that is the smaller ice. It's not smaller ice, but like the smaller viewability, smaller rink, smaller capacity. It's not, I don't know. I don't, maybe the national broadcast looks slower, or maybe I'm more used to seeing it. It's something, but the speed stands out to me in those games. It's clearly fun, fast-paced hockey that is really well done. And I'm really, again, impressed with the YouTube feeds. They're incredible. So yeah, agreed. Go check that out. But in the NHL, there's a name that we've been talking about a little bit, and he's showing up big time. Macklin Celebrini.
Yeah.
So I knew he was something special, but I didn't realize he was this. To be -2 on the Sharks team is almost like being +40 on a good team. Like
Oh yeah.
he's so
Yeah.
good at hockey, and he's I think he's a point a game player or just shy. 15 games played, 14 points, dude. 8 goals, 6 assists. The last 4 games, he's had 7 points. I mean, the kid's just popping off right now. I know he won like team of the week or star of the week, rookie of the
Start of the week,
month, star
yeah,
of the week.
yeah.
Like he's just transitioned. Dude, he just accepted the Hobie Baker Award and he's getting star of the month or star of the week in November, December of his first NHL year. I mean, he's 18 years old, dude. Like,
I know, but like you couldn't even tell. Like again, I kind of forget that these kids come in at 18, and they are kids. But
the
man,
children.
how
Yeah.
they, I'm still, I mean, like I'm a child compared to these guys because like they could be 18, but how they handle all that pressure, how they handle the media, like he is, like you could just tell he's just going to be a natural born leader. And I hope he stays in San Jose forever because I mean,
Me
like
too.
they can, you always want to have exciting teams and make it competitive in the West because the Metro and Atlantic are always going to have just strong teams, and you want to like actually you don't want to have blowouts in the Stanley Cup Finals and stuff like that. So I mean that team's super youthful. For him to also be there too, what he's going to learn, dude, in 4 years, what this kid's going to be when he like truly just mentally develops. This game slows down immensely for him. It's unbelievable what we're seeing now. I've only got to watch. I think I've watched like parts of 2 or 3 games, pretty much. But every time I see him, I'm like, this guy looks like a veteran. It's insane, like how easy this game looks to him when he's out there.
Yeah, man. Interesting points there because you were saying, like handles the pressure and stuff like that. Well, it was actually what I wanted to talk about. And it was that let's just take the last two, right? The last two first round picks are Connor Bedard and Macklin Celebrini. And one is clearly standing out to me right now. And I don't know Bedard's stats. Actually, I am going to pull them up because I feel like this is an important conversation. But you said something about pressure, right?
Mhm.
And this can't be true across the board, but what I am leaning towards is I feel like Macklin compared to Bedard, let's just compare the two. They're different players, and Bedard actually has the higher ceiling, right? Um, got an easier first year, right? So San Jose is arguably just as bad or worse than when Bedard joined the Blackhawks. However, the the attention to hockey in those two cities are completely different. And Bedard has handled it well. But I personally believe, and what I do know without looking at his stats are his face-offs are terrible. Bedard's, winning like 2 out of 10 most of the time, going just dashes across the board for some games, and then showing up and playing against weaker teams and eating them up. Whereas, like, Macklin's in the situation to come over the stud, be the first overall pick, not have the hype that Bedard had, not have that. Dude, the year Bedard was drafted, I was at the Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto, and I went upstairs to the pro shop thing, and it was just a table of Bedard t-shirts. Like, he was so hyped up even in that area that I was like, this kid doesn't have a chance to excite you. Like he's being touted as this next McDavid. He's nowhere near that.
Right.
He's not even similar, right? And so Macklin comes in, he's in a pressure-free situation, and he's able to retain a lot of that hockey player thing you like. You keep referencing veteran. You know what makes a veteran? Being in position, playing past the shift, playing through the whistle, winning draws, winning defensive draws, being on special teams across the board, not relying on one aspect of your game to light up the score sheet, but continuing to be almost a point of player. I mean, he's got 15 games in the NHL. This is a pretty small sample size to be talking so highly of him, right? But it's that pressure thing that I think really makes people just be able to put their shoulders down, relax, and focus on their job. And I know Will Smith's not doing the same thing. Will Smith's not supposed to. I think Will Smith's doing fine.
Oh
And I
yeah.
think that if you look at San Jose right now, uh, that's probably the most exciting prospect pool. I don't really know what will it will become, right? Like I don't really know if it's going to be a Stanley Cup contending team or a dynasty or any, thing that we want to blow out of proportion. But I do think that those two guys centering the 1-2 lines for the next 10 years is what will put San Jose on the map finally. Because in all fairness, dude, I love Jumbo Joe, and the day he was traded, I threw a coffee mug through the television, right? He was a Bruin.
Yeah,
He
that is
was a
true.
Bruin, and it was my favorite Bruin. And then he went to San Jose. And you could almost forget he was a Bruin because of how much he did for the Sharks, right?
Right.
And that era with Marlowe and Pavelski and Burns put the Sharks on the map, honestly. Honestly, that is the golden era. And I have a feeling that this is just slightly better. I'm hoping, but I think that
It
these,
can be, right? Like if they can just click like those guys, and as long as San Jose still brings in some solid old heads in there to really keep them inside those bumpers, I mean, yeah, it can be something special out there in San Jose for sure. I
yeah,
mean,
man.
like you said, it is a small sample size, but dude, I mean, if you know this game well enough, and if this kid, again, it all comes down to injury stuff too. If he can just stay healthy, I just don't understand, like, or I wouldn't be able to comprehend if he just ended up like being washed up in like a couple of years. What he's showing right now, it's like you said, he still has the. I mean, he's in a kind of a cool area too. He's up in the Bay Area, so like you have this whole different vibe out there outside of just like not being on an original six team in one of the shittiest cities in the fucking country in Chicago,
Right.
in
Right.
my opinion. My
Right.
opinion doesn't reflect my co-host over here if he fucking wants to even defend Chicago in the slightest. However,
No.
um, he can bring a whole new style and just like a swagger up there in San Jose, and they truly deserve it. That they do have like a pretty solid fan base, whether they show up or not, because it's not supposed to be a hockey town, right? I mean, Northern California, dude, right? So like,
Right.
I mean, but from what
It.
I see, man, like the Pens played them in the Stanley Cup Finals, and they
Mhm.
had packed house all the time. They
Mhm.
got dope unis. They can market really fucking well. So when you get some really cool names on the back of those unis, man, you're gonna start packing some seats with some asses, and then the West gets even more fun because there's a lot of
Yeah.
sick teams in California that are young. They're kind of vibing. Ducks are struggling here and there, but watch a Ducks game. They're still fun to watch, whether they get their asses kicked or not. And Gaby's back, so maybe they can win. But this it's going to be fun to watch the West kind of grow up.
Hmm.
And I really enjoy watching a little bit of Macklin. It just stinks that we're back on the East Coast here, and these games are like 1 in the morning, so it makes it tough. But I'm usually up until at least 12:30 smoking weed anyway, so I do try to catch it that way. And I don't know, man. He seems exciting. I do forget that he's just 18, man. Like this kid's not gonna. He's not too far off from having 30 plus goal seasons. I just
No.
how he passes, how he plays. He's just gonna just be like whether he scores 2 goals in a night, he's gonna contribute some way to those 3 goals that they may get as a team, which is huge.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, man. I think I agree. Like, so I'll tell you this. Like, I have not paid attention to Macklin this year. I just heard, right? And then I watched the LA game, and it's almost like that kid knew I turned it on. Because that game he had 2 goals and an assist, and he played, I think, 75% faceoff draws. He played like, and it was LA. It wasn't nothing. He didn't
Right.
show up against nobody. He showed up against the team, specifically the team that is a huge rival in that
Oh yeah.
state. Like it
Oh yeah.
means again, we don't have that impact here. We don't really know what that feels like, but it has to exist. And I was saying like an exception to the rule on the pressure part because Anaheim, I mean, to go back a few years ago, Zegras was on the cover of the NHL game for literally no reason.
No
Talk about
reason.
it was because he was doing mishies, right? And so outside of like what a failure he's become, I, and in a market that he shouldn't have any pressure, right? I think the pressure's on from his ownership. I don't think it, but you start to see that these kids, once they start dealing with that pressure, it's how they deal with that pressure. And I think about it a lot with McDavid because it's easy to say he's the best hockey player. It is. Um, and it's also easy to say that there are people that are comparable to him. but the entirety of his career, he has been in a hockey market that literally wants to light the building on fire when there's good or bad news. Like they're fucking
Yeah.
crazy. And he's handled it like a consummate professional the entire time. Whereas you go back and who's the most comparable is McKinnon, and he's throwing helmets at people and screaming at the coach and going to therapy. And I'm not downing him. I mean, I think that's just fucking entertaining. And I like when people are real. You know what I mean? Like I like to see, I love McKinnon flipping out. It's like my favorite thing to watch.
Oh yeah.
Um, but my point is that that's a different young man growing up than McDavid is, and I think that that does push him to be better because what you need is a level head, at least visibly to the public. You know, as that Amazon series where he's flipping out or whatever. But that's the kind of captain I want too. Come in and rip me a new one because I'm not playing to my abilities. Like I don't have any
Also, that's
problem
just
with that.
accountability as a
Just
leader
account
too. That's
right.
just that's a locker room, man. If you're just losing and you're trying to get like somebody rallied and fired up,
Trying to
like
trying to win the cup, man. Not one of us understand what that's like.
no,
You know what I mean? Like never been there, never will. Don't understand with the pressure and the way he handles himself. And I know we just went into McDavid or whatever, but like my point, my long road there is that let's just take McKinnon and McDavid, who are just the talk of the NHL right now, that new era, that golden era of players. And there's more, but they're leading it. And let's just say 5 years from now, that's Macklin and Bedard. And I could probably sit here and tell you that even with the small sample size, my belief is that Macklin's going to be on that McDavid side of things, where I'm like, dude,
mm,
this kid's been a professional since the moment he hit the ice. And it's hard to say that because I really, really think that Bedard has done everything right. But it's the
yeah.
pressure that changes that outcome because that kid was an amazing center. And now he can't. I looked it up, man. His faceoff percentage is 28.
Oh, dang.
Dude, bring a defenseman to do a draw.
Yeah,
Have the
where's
goalie
Polino?
take a draw, dude. What the fuck? Like, it's so
Send old
bad.
Saint
And
Nick out there to do it, handle it. Yeah, that's pretty rough.
yeah, man,
Um,
that's brutal. And again, I'm not basing their entire future on face-up percent. I'm not insane. I'm just saying in this situation, right? Pressure shows in different ways, and Macklin's not showing any cracking. 15 games, 15 games. I'm not crazy. But if he continued just that, if he was just under a point a game player every year of his life for his entire NHL career, we're
mhm.
talking we're talking a guy that can take you there, and we're talking a guy that's going in the rafters, and we're talking a guy in the Hall of Fame because that's what it takes. As you know, what's more important about Sidney Crosby, the way he handles himself or the goals he scores?
Yeah, exactly. What he does on that
Yeah,
ice is always way more important.
yeah.
Um, but nobody will ever be him. So that's just an
I mean, Macklin
untouchable.
might be. Macklin might be better.
It's
Speaking
hey,
of the Penguins, let's move on. Let's move on. We're gonna jump
we're
into.
just going
I,
on over there. Yeah, speaking of Stanley Cup champions, so and what it already is. There's just been a tide that's turned. I'm sure you can already tell that I'm a little bit more chipper. I even turned an extra light on. You know, we're
I did
gonna fucking
too.
we're gonna hoist the damn cup together, and it's gonna be so much fun.
It is a
And
sign that we're okay if we're turning more lights on. The last pod, I was in
exactly,
complete darkness. I think it was just the
that's
kid, just fucking,
miserable around here.
just miserable.
Um,
Yeah, it's a little shinier, a little chippier.
I'm a little shocked though. I don't know where the fuck this Penguins team has been, but when we played each other on Friday night, that was a whole. I never seen the Pens play like that this entire season. Like I understand that there's always a little bit more of intensity when Pens and Bruins play. You got Sid and Marchand there. No matter how old or washed up they all may be at some point, that there's definitely a chip on each other's shoulder there when they play each other. But I actually saw Eric Carlson skate backwards, and you would have thought that I just like my unborn first child. I was like, oh my god, I'm witnessing just a miracle right now. This is wild. So, K65 looked pretty good in that game. He actually looked good in the last two games that we won as well too. So maybe he listened to the podcast. Maybe he heard me. Finally made rounds. They said some fucking nobody made it to his phone, and he started to turn it on. It's like I can't have this fucking dumbass Yinzer sitting in a shitty house say stuff about me like this.
Right, right,
So
right. Took it personal.
you, he did, and you know what? I'm glad I was there.
You're the
To the
reason.
grindstone. I'm taking full responsibility for
You
EK
should.
65 actually skating backwards for once in his
You
life.
should.
I think I'm the only one that's been pounding the table on this fucking guy that doesn't know how to fucking skate or
No,
do
no, no.
anything
You
else.
you got
We
him
shall
good. You got
see.
him figured out. Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
how we're going forward with them. Outside of EK, the rest of the team looked pretty sharp. These little small additions that we picked up here. The kid that we got out of Nashville, Philip Tomasino, I think his last name is. Did I nail it?
You nailed it, buddy.
Sweet, we're going with that. Got a goal. So there looks to be, I don't know, something's a little bit different in Pittsburgh. It seems like we'll see. They got rough, rough fucking schedule come up ahead of them. They have the Panthers tomorrow. They have the Rangers. They have Toronto. They have Avalanche. So they're going to
Ish.
be down and up in different country and across the country, and it's going to be brutal. So again, it's been a even with them even before this 3 game streak. I was looking at it, I'm like the only team that we can really beat is Montreal, but at the same time, our schedule's been like whoever coordinated it, they've been everywhere, dude. It's got to be rough when you're playing and they're all a little elderly, so you're not bouncing off a plane like you would when you're first going to Disneyland. So you got to take that into account. We're still, I mean, like if we can win like 3 more games, I doubt in this week we can. But the week after that kind of slows down. If we can grab at least 2 out of these, it's so tough. I don't see it happening, but we're back in like fifth place territory again. We're not, I mean, we're bottom of the barrel, but we're like a game or two right outside of that. And then you're just sniffing fourth place right there. So
Well,
just
well.
keep climbing, guys. Just keep climbing.
Listen, I don't think I've been pretty kind about the Penguins
Yeah.
since we
I
started
don't
this
know
podcast.
why.
I've been pretty kind, but I'm gonna hit you with some fucking knowledge. Okay? You beat the Bruins. Who didn't? Okay? Who fucking hasn't? All right? Your goal differential is neg 28, dead last in the league. Dead
Ugh.
last. Montreal has a better goal differential than you. I want you to remember that.
Don't care. We
Okay?
still beat them. Still win the cup.
You're not winning the cup. You're not sniffing fourth. You'll be lucky to sniff ass. There's no chance. Okay? I'm gonna read something to you because I didn't watch the game with my buddy. He calls me the night is Black Friday, and he's like, "Hey man, sorry, whole family over the night before. I got smashed. I ain't hanging." I'm like, "I totally get it, dude. I'm dealing with my family. Absolutely. Everyone's home. I get it." 8:09 p.m. I sent him a text. I have it up here. Pens have no soul. 8:09. 8:09 again. Bruins suck, but this is tough. 8:13. Never mind.
That's how we all thought too. I was just like, what are we doing here? And I was like, all right, we're down 1-0. Could be way worse. Have been seeing way worse. And then we see a nice tying goal
He
there. And I'm
turned it
like, you
on,
know
man.
what?
They turned it on for that game. They were hilarious the first half. That goal. I think it wasn't Thomas. It was the first goal, maybe. You gotta have you gotta have that goal. With the 1 second
Yeah,
left, and he falls down and he doesn't have his stick. You don't have that goal. Don't worry. He's gonna have his. I'm gonna talk about him in a minute. Um, the Tomasino goal underneath the pad, I talked at length with Tommy about how much I'm angry with Swayman right now, or hate him even. I don't know. We're gonna get to it, but ultimately that was hard. That was hard to lose to the Pens. Like I just said, they were neg 28 goal differential, worse than the league. Yeah, we lost to them though, right? Even with the goal
sure did.
change, even with the coach
Sure did.
change, sure did. Okay. Um, before I roll into the Bruins, let's turn it back up. Let's make it fun again.
That's
Yeah,
right.
let's turn it back up
I
and
have a
have some
small
fun.
window. I have a small window to be happy here.
Let's just be happy
So
for a second. How about, well, first of all, you're saying like, hey, those four people that watch the pod, one of them is Paul Bissonnette.
hey, Biz Nasty.
Biz is
Help.
checking out our Instagram, bro. Sure, it's
Yeah.
about him. Maybe that's a little masturbatory,
Sure,
but
maybe I
whatever.
fucking tagged him.
Maybe we added him. He came and looked, didn't he? That's a win. That's a dub, right? Maybe you should listen if he's listening. You know what I'm saying? Little plug there. Like, comment, subscribe. Nailed that. Not a big deal.
I take a
What?
shot of Pink Whitney right now?
No,
All right, thank good call. All right, never mind.
I got you.
Thanks.
But more fun with Biz. Did you watch the interview with him and Marshawn where he says, "Hey, bud, was one of those off-season injuries hair plugs, Turkish hair plugs, because you're looking less thin up top?" And Marshawn quotes, "No, I'm just trying to look like the guys that beat the wheels off you the other."
Oh, it was elite chirp session between those two. Can you just imagine, like, if I just had like a genie wish to sit at a table, alive or
Yeah.
dead? Like, I think I'm clearing the table. I think I'm bringing those two in just so I can sit there like this,
Oh
just to watch
yeah,
them go. I mean,
buddy.
Martian's got to
That's
be what, one of the best fucking chirpers in the league of all time. So like to see those two go at it, oh, it was just prime TV.
those two. So each time they interview, first, all right, it's great. That was one of the best. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. It's fantastic. Um, NHL hockey needs that.
Yeah,
My full opinion is Biz may be, and I know he's polar polarizing in this because a lot of people can't stand him. A
which
lot
is
of
wild
people,
to me.
to me too. I'm on the side of I adore him, love him. My wife wants just a Bissonnette fucking Arizona jersey. Like
Yeah, we
she's
we
just
can
a
get her a Penguins one. We can get her a Penguins one.
nah. We don't need to do that. It ain't actually going to happen that way. But the NHL for so long has had these broadcasters on, and no disrespect to them, but there's only so long you can hear the same thing. And you're starting to see, like I was just watching the panel the other night, and it was, you know, now Army's on there, right? And with his
Yeah.
crooked nose this way, and just he's a gambling addict, and he's now sitting across from business, like, hey, something's working. And it's the fact that, like, yeah, it's nice to hear from Chris Chelios and Mark Messier, and it's cool to have Lundqvist on there because he's good looking and he knows what he's talking about with the position. Honestly, he's probably the best to talk about goaltending. You know what I mean? Like he's
Oh yeah.
fantastic. But what's really drawing people in to TNT is the likability of Biz, whether or dislikability of Biz, because he's entertaining. Asking Dylan Larkin in the middle of contract negotiations if he's just going to sign or not, just putting the pressure right on him. Like, dude, how bored are you with the intermission interviews from we got to play up on our feet and go, just put pucks in and just play on our game. Don't let them get, same fucking thing for years, right? Biz doesn't
Right.
do that. Entertaining to the T. Hockey needs it. I'm in love with him being there. I want more of him, more of people like him to come in and laugh and have a good time while watching a game. And then also, I think he does a really good job reviewing the game.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, absolutely.
he's excellent job. So,
Yeah, all
but
jokes aside,
dude,
he still knows what he's talking about.
oh, for
Like
sure, yeah, he's a
he
brilliant
just asked
hockey
the
mind.
better questions and like the questions that we want to know. I
Yep,
mean, NHL has watered down everybody's character. And there's a lot of great characters in the NHL. So like that's why I really love him, where he could just bring all that out. He makes it fun. And
yeah,
Pat McAfee did that in a lot of ways too, where he just broke
sure,
this fucking cookie cutter style of just like commentating and these fake corporate laughs. Like it's not relatable to anybody.
no,
90% of us are all fucking working class degenerates. And I,
in this
appreciate the
sport,
professionalism. However, I want somebody like it's just like anybody else. Like you want to fucking listen to somebody that you can also have a beer with, but also
right,
has great opinions that you're like, oh, I didn't think of it that way, and he
right,
still does that. So like,
yeah,
yeah, Biz, shout out to you. Keep going, man, and fucking
for
make
sure.
hockey. What keep making hockey better.
Yeah,
Um,
man, I watched football a lot over the break, and man, I don't want to hear them talk. Like I could
oh,
mute that. It's horrible.
I
This is a
think I've been
working class
muting.
team. Like hockey's a working class sport. And to have a guy that takes a bunch of punches to the face talk, that's what I want to hear. Moving on. We can talk about him all night. I think it's time we Do you have anything else to add on the Pens?
No, I just kind of like the direction that they're in. I just hope they can kind of somewhat maintain this fight that they had because what I saw against the Bruins, regardless, I mean, if you've got a younger, faster team, it's going to be hard to stop them. But
Hmm.
if our the fight that I saw this team for once, man, I just hope they can continue it. Because even if we, what was really pissing me off is I'm fine with losing, but lose with dignity a little bit.
Yeah.
And they were just getting their cheeks clapped constantly, and I'm like, dude, they just look like they all fucking hate being there. They're just Fred Flintstoning this thing and clocking in and just don't care. And Friday was the first time this whole season where I was just like, oh my god, they look like they're having fun. And
Yeah.
then Rax is over there, just where he's supposed to be. Everything, just the puck luck worked out for a lot of people, and on that team. And I just hope they can kind of the momentum can start building a little bit here, because they can start, making at least these games that they lose a little bit more entertaining. Because who the fuck wants to? Like I was just like again, I was going to the Dallas game before I even walked into the arena. It was 5-0. I mean, I had people. I was fighting people walking out. Like that's not good for anybody.
Right.
So yeah, I just hope they keep on continuing it. I hope there's a lot of hope with this team. Hope's not a
Mm.
strategy, but that's where we're at right now with it. But I
Sure.
hope Ned's been looking pretty good and more confident, and I really like how he's been sitting in net and more patient lately, and letting the shooters make their first move so
Sure.
he can get into a better position. What I've been watching out of him was like this scaredness and just like trying to guess where he's supposed to go next, and it's just creating little holes. And this is the NHL, pal. You leave a little baby quarter size window, guess what's going to happen?
Still in there,
So
man.
yeah, it seems like they've been doing pretty well. So I hope everything just keeps on going in that right direction. Whatever is working seemed to work here the past couple of games.
Yeah. I'm gonna fall back on this saying, you can never count out Crosby.
Sure can.
I mean, it's gonna be a tough hill to climb. But I also remember last year, before coming to that game in Pittsburgh, my buddy and me were watching the game prior to it, like 2 months away from the game we went to. And they had like, no, maybe like 6 weeks, something like that. And they had like a 2% chance of making playoffs.
Right.
And they were in playoff contention all the way to the end.
I was there at that last game for that reason. I had like
Yep.
tickets to a concert, and I was like, I've been waiting months for that. And then I was like, we have a chance. And how often are we going to see Sidney Crosby make a playoff push game? So I was like, I got to go. So I said,
Yeah.
fuck those concert tickets and went.
Yep.
And it was, we just couldn't put the nail in the coffin there. They really fought. And then we needed a couple other games to go our way. And I'm like watching the ticker and watching this and watching the ticker. And then I'm just watching like the three teams that we needed to win also lose. So I'm just sitting there
Right.
again, a little heartbroken, but it was still
Worth
cool
being
to see.
heartbroken. Right. It's
Yeah,
worth it.
exactly.
Well, speaking of heartbreak, I am I am 100% sure at this point that no matter what the Bruins do, this year is not it. 100% sure at this point. Um, I'm going to tell you this right now. Since and this is great news. Since the firing of Monty and Joe Sacco coming in, we are the best defensive team in the NHL statistically,
Which we've been, saying that's got to click at some point here.
and it did, and it
Yeah.
has, and there's bright spots, right? Lindholm's still out, but they're making it work. Lorai, I'm sorry, I'm a Lorai apologist. Looks fantastic. I really believe that the coaching structure has helped the biggest area of need. And the truth is that as much as I am really frustrated with Jeremy Swayman right now, since the coaching change, he's been above a 900. He was actually before the Montreal game, he was a 943. That's
Oh,
incredible.
okay. That's what you
Okay.
need out of a, 8x8 player here.
That's what the whole year should look like. But it begs the question. I actually wrote this down because I wanted to say this right. Swayman looks like dog shit, but has been better. Oddly, so has our defense. It has been the best in the league since Sacco, which brings me the question. If Swayman's good with a good team and bad with a bad team, does that make him irrelevant?
Yeah, because why that does with everybody else, right? You got to hold in that same standard with everybody else.
Right. So here's the thing. I'll go back to last playoff run. And honestly, if you were to click on any NHL broadcast, they were talking about Jeremy Swayman's play in the Toronto series and the Florida series like he was just this gift to God. Okay. And what I remember, and I had this conversation with Paul, I was like, I didn't feel that way. I didn't feel like he just stood on his head. I felt like we were shoved right into the back of the net the entire game, and the team did not play up to par, especially against Florida. But every game he played was like a 5-3 win, right? And maybe that's the new NHL, and I got to get used to 2-1 games not really being there and blah, blah, blah. But also, a lot of those goals were just super weak. And I felt like, sure, he played fine, but was he Hellebuck talk about? No, dude, like not at all, right? So whatever, he got that praise, he got the paycheck, and here we are. Fast forward a little bit, and I see the defense number one in the NHL, and now we're talking about a 940 save percentage. And you just answered the question. No, it makes him a part of the problem or a part of the success, but it doesn't make him the X factor. Well, he's being paid to be the franchise backing goalie, right? We keep going back to this truth serum. What Jeremy Swayman makes does not impact us at all. How many times have I said that on this pod? Nothing changes. If he makes 10 million a
Right.
year,
Right.
25 million a year, 150 billion million a year, it doesn't matter. But the reason that you use that as a reference point is because when somebody gets the bag in the NHL now, they didn't really have to prove anything. Yet everybody needs to find a way to justify it, meaning that they had to prove it. Right? So when people are talking to me, and I'm talking to you, Tommy, about how this kid is the future franchise goalie, blah, 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 and we didn't have the comparisons, and he's having a rough year, and then you still go on, and you say, I don't think it was an overpayment, and he needs time, and blah, 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 and all this, you keep talking out of both sides of your mouth. The reality is that every single contract in the NHL we talk about being a good contract is because that person proved to you it was worth it. I am so sick and tired of waiting for Swayman to prove what he can do to me when I don't know what that is. That's the reality. No one knows what he is. Apparently, Don does because he gave him fucking everything he wanted. I don't trust Don. I don't
Can
trust
you?
him. No, no, I
That's what I'm
can't. And
saying. Can you
it's
out there?
more than the
Because
Swayman thing. How come,
there's a lot of hot seats there.
dude, how come the Swayman deal is such a good deal for fans of him, yet they can't see past the other things that Don Sweeney's done when it comes to their guy being signed? I know it seems like I'm targeting Tommy right now, but it's not only him. People really have all the justification in the world for why Swayman has the bag. And I'm like, he's good when we're good and he's bad when we're bad. Where's he the X factor? Shouldn't he just be a middling guy then? No, he's being paid as the third highest Bruin. He's the future. Blah, I hear all this shit. So if our team's good, Swayman's good. And when our team is bad, we can't rely on him to be good. I don't understand it then. Because goaltenders need to stop pucks, man. And in
Yep.
that Montreal game, we won 6-3. It was 5-3 until the empty netter, right? And he let three bad goals in on a low amount of shots on Montreal. He lost to the Penguins. Sorry, man, but that's your measuring stick. We're talking about a team that's neg 28, and my goalie can't keep two pucks. Yes, he saved a lot of shots, but both of those goals he should have had. It should have been a shutout, dude. Those were not. Come on. It wasn't Sid sniping over the
Right.
corner. It wasn't bouncing off his chest and then batting it out of the air while doing a fucking backflip. It was Tomasino scored, and the
Right.
other whoever else scored.
On
It
a
was
straight and narrow down the barrel, a little bit of a knee jerk move to just get his pad to lift up. Like when I watched that, I was just like, Mick's got to be punching fucking drywall. And I
yeah.
was like, as much as I love our team here too, I was like, at the same time, I'm just taking the little type of light that we're getting out of this. I wasn't 1,000% impressed with where we're at, But I'm sitting here, I'm
Oh,
like, man, Bruins are in a really tough spot. And that's
yeah,
where I was when I was watching that because there's shitty teams out there with goaltenders that you can see put up 40 saves a night. Like Gibby does it in Anaheim.
yep,
Vizmelka does it in Utah. You know, he did it in Arizona for a long time, where
right,
you're like, they got nobody in front of him, but he's still stopping 50 fucking pucks.
right,
And it's not even just like, all right, well, he's stopping 50 pucks. It's like you need to stop those moments. If you're I get it. If you have no defense in front of you, you do need them to go a little bit hand in hand to keep up for a long season. However, when you're sitting there and playing these 2-1 games, which Boston's really known for, you're there and you're getting paid that bag to stop it from being 2-1.
right,
Like, dude, how can anybody in Boston justify this guy so far? And you need to have what? He needs to have a supporting cast around him to make him be okay and give him the pat on the back. He needs to have another great goaltender to really take the pressure off of him too. That was the whole fucking point of giving him the longevity. I get 8 million for a goaltender, sure. They're kind of hard to come by. Believe me, we're seeing it here.
sure,
But that's still a lot. It eats up a lot of cap where it can go other places if you really need to for playing what he is. Sure, you could say this past week he's been going over 900, but in my head, from what I've seen from him so far, that guy is not an over 900 goaltender. And
no,
especially if you let's just narrow it even more down when it comes to game winning chances or game changing chances, he's like a 700. Like, he's
right.
not fucking doing
When you need
anything to
them,
make when you need him. And
right,
that is the whole point of the bag with him. So I see the comments. I know what you're talking about when I keep my ear to the streets in Boston when they talk about him, and I can't believe that they're. I guess you kind of have to rally around your guy while he's there.
yeah, man, he
Sure,
is our
I'm not that.
guy.
I'm really not that fucking guy. You know, like if you stink and you constantly stink, and especially when you eat up my cap, I'm not here tiptoeing around Eric Carlson. I'm praising him that he can skate fucking backwards now. But 11 mil a year, dude, get the fuck out.
Yeah,
I'll give you my house just to leave. Like I don't care at this point because we have two franchises here that have a whole history that you need to show up when it matters. This league is better when our teams do better.
yep,
When you get the bag, you have an expectation. If you're
hmm,
not even, you can try your ass off and fail, but like when you're noticeably trying your ass off and you're still just bad, you I mean you just robbed us basically. And you know what, good for you. I guess when you just get your money you dedicate your whole life to it. There's a bunch of other variables to it that
sure,
I can kind of turn my cheek to or make it make sense. But the fact of the matter is they're getting paid a lot of money to what, really not show up in the moments that you're getting paid for. That's where the money comes from. I don't
right,
see EK stop pucks. We had a 4-1 lead on Vancouver, and they came back, and I watched Quinn Hughes just la di da, nice cardio day on his edges through three of our defensemen, including EK. It's just throwing sticks out. 11 mil to throw your stick out? Dude,
yeah,
I had construction worker coaches at 12 years old that if I threw my stick out, I'm doing laps for an hour.
hmm,
Like, where's this accountability? Is I know that there's been a lot of changes here, and I think Sacco has been a great coach so far. It seems like the team can still rally around him. He's been in that your underneath your barn for a long time too, right? I mean, he's
13, 12 years, something like that.
I'll say 12 years or something like that too.
Yeah,
So like everybody knows him. That's nice.
hmm, yep,
So when you get in these little weird pockets and stuff like that, the guy knows who he has on that team. And sometimes those little secondary coaches that couldn't voice his opinion before, maybe, or they didn't ride his word, now he can do that. So I don't know. From what I've seen with Monty in there to now, I think there is, again, a little bit of a momentum switch there where Boston, sure, they lost to the Penguins and this, that, but I am noticing them play a little bit better. And
a
I
lot
think it's
better.
more so. I think it's more so defensively. I also have a small scale of watching you guys too. I'm
Sure,
picking up as much as I can, but um, from at the beginning of the season, watching your defense, I'm like, Jesus, dude, this is
hmm,
wet paper bag status. To
yep,
now, where I'm like, we still had we just had some puck luck, to be honest with you. We had some breakaways and some things go our way. Um, but Boston's defense is looking much better, which is probably why Swayman looks okay. But
right,
that doesn't mean shit. Back to our original talk here with that.
right,
That does not make him worth that payday. It's not worth the 8 years. The 8 years, like I said before, is what gets me out of this thing. I don't like the longevity of this thing because goalies, they just wear and tear in a way where it's like the running backs in the NFL. They want to get paid. Sure, they phenomenal. Do they really make or break a team? Absolutely. The problem is you're getting hit way more. You have your quick twitch muscles are being more utilized than anybody else. So you're more prone to injury. The
Right.
8 years on a goalie is a long time, dude. Like, how many people can really do that? And for what I'm seeing, you know what? Maybe Swayman can last 8 years because he's not throwing his fucking body anywhere to stop this shit.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the argument too, right? Like with the big payment is that none of our big guys have really been showing up, right? Like, and I want to argue that. I got a fun fact for you on all the Pasternak haters right now. How many times have I brought up he's not a two-way forward? Million, right? Who do you think in the NHL right now has the most shots on goal?
um, Tage Thompson fucking rips that puck. He's got to be up there, but I don't think he's fully up there. I feel like I just watched this too. I have no idea
It's
right
it's
now, but
it's David Pasternak.
oh, it is Pasta.
It's Pasternak. If you think that he's not trying because of how, here's the argument, right? It looks like Pasta doesn't give a shit, is the argument I hear. No, motherfucker, he's just so good it looks effortless.
Yeah,
There's a difference. Now the issue is he's sitting at 9 goals this season. Not good enough. Not good enough. We've talked about this before. All five people go and attack him, and you idiots are just flopping around on the ice like fucking fish out of water. They're not worried about you. They're just going to kill him. He's still getting shots off. He's got the most in the NHL, right? Most, meaning he's attempting, but those are low quality chances. I was reading Fluto's article and I went a little further into the stats because I'm like, man, I'm not a stats guy, but when you see something like that and he's got 9 goals, you wonder why. Is it injury? Is it percentage? Low quality shot, whatever. And so what I was looking at is that like his shot attempts compared to shots on goal is even further, that they're saying like something closer to 200 shot attempts, which would make him like way
that's
leading in
crazy
the like
percentage.
crazy. So then I looked a little further at his line mates and I was like, what are their shot attempts? Power play, penalty kill, all of it. Short, special teams, etc. Dude, Pasta's shot percentage online, meaning when there's two other forwards that have the ability, he is shooting 97% of the time. What?
That's crazy.
So you just get the puck to Pasta, Pasta shoots it on goal, gets plowed into, and then they take away the rebound. This has been the forward issue I've had all year. I'm like, what is happening? And people will come into the Bruins chat and be like, what's wrong with Pasta? And I'm like, what's wrong with your eyes?
It ain't him.
It
It
ain't
ain't
him.
that guy.
You want to
It ain't
find
that
someone to
guy.
blame? It ain't him, right? But we do need more. And so, how do you figure it out? You don't ask him for more. You find out how to make him work. Again, nothing's changing, man. Lindholm, I'm wrong. Guy sucks. Sucks, man. It really sucks. That's a big
Yeah.
contract. I'm wrong. Please prove me wrong now in what I just said. But so far,
Yeah,
man,
maybe this will
don't
show up in
even.
his phone like ours just showed up in EK's, you know?
He's on the
So,
he's on the he's on the plane right now going, who's this fucking idiot? I'll show him. Go ahead, show me. Please show me. Like
yeah.
Zadorov, poking Malkin, funny, but dude, how many fucking penalties you gonna take, man? You guys are locking up $14 million of our money. I'm not going to just sit here and axe out Swayman and then not do the same thing I wanted to give you grace. We're past grace period now. I don't even notice them, right? I don't notice them doing wrong things all the time. I mean, Zadorov's clearly always doing the wrong thing. But
Yeah.
dude, I was wrong. I was just wrong. I don't want to be wrong. I want to love those guys, but I was wrong. And I've praised Pasta enough here. Mac since Sacco, huge improvement. The other day, dude, he had a
Yeah.
fucking breakaway shorthand goal. He had 2 goals and an assist the Montreal game. He took that over. One was a wraparound, dude. Like
Yep.
Whatever happened with Monty going, defensive has gone to the best in the NHL since Sacco, and McAvoy looks like a hockey player again.
Agreed.
Amazing, amazing player again. And I'm just like, okay, all right. If Pasta's gonna shoot all, and he scored in Montreal too. Like he finally got a monkey off his back. Had to feel good. Felt good for me, dude. I mean, I fucking won last week in fantasy because of that game. It was
I can't
incredible.
believe he didn't. I mean, like there was no question where I'm sitting there and I'm watching our game on Friday. I'm like, our team cannot stop Pasta, and I was like, it's just tale as old as time. I'm like, Pasta's just going to keep on hammering that puck. We can't stop him. He is way too good. Ned just stood on his fucking head, dude.
Ned
Like,
played so good in that game. He played so
yeah,
good. And that's the thing, right? Your defense is clearly the issue. We've been talking about it the whole year. Neg 28, man. I'm just gonna keep going to that. Like
I
the
watched
first
Quinn Hughes fucking skate through a whole team from end to end, picked up his groceries, came back, and just a lofted fucking. You knew where he was going. It wasn't.
Mm,
He wasn't tucking it between his legs and doing some sweet stuff. It was your just rudimentary from just end to end, from post to post. I don't think it was a backhand, but you just knew where the puck was going. You could have easily positioned yourself, and it all started with just defense, just creating just a perfect little delay where the goalie didn't want to give up his post because he had nobody blocking him on his blocker side to shut that and make him feel comfortable enough. He had to stay in a spot for an extra, half a second, which is massive. And then you're going to create a whole wide open net for him to do that. And you
right.
almost blow a 4-1 lead, no defense.
And
How?
that's the thing is like when I talk about Swayman and my needs from him, you just said Ned stood on his head. I need you to stand on your head when the defense falls apart. Take, for example, the Pens in that game that I'm talking about. Their defense was horrible.
Horrible,
Yes,
dude.
EK showed up a little bit more, but a little bit more than nothing is a little, right? So
Right.
I I'll get off this right now because and the issue with Swayman, and you can tell it's like really bothering me because I keep talking about him. A lot of people I have a lot of respect for in their decisions are not seeing my point of view on this. And it kind of drives you nuts, right? Like you ever like this is a hockey pod, so we don't talk about anything else in real life, but just take anything, and you're like, hey, I got this opinion on this thing. And they're like, I have the complete opposite opinion of that thing. And you're like, really? You, the guy, you, the person that I come to with this stuff, you don't agree? And so you don't want to be that person that's pushing your position, but you're like, but what about this though? Like, are you seeing it from, and with a lot of people I respect in my life, not just Tommy, who I keep bringing up on here and fucking with, but he is the main one. I respect what he says. He knows just about as much as me as hockey, if not more, right? Like I'll give
Oh
him
yeah.
that. But it's not just him. And so I'm like, I must be crazy then. But no matter what angle I take, I'm not wrong. Like it's just and again, dude, you said it in this. You said, "Oh, you got to root for your guy." That's what people that are on the swimming train are doing. They're rooting for their guy. That's it. That's their guy, right? He ain't going anywhere. I got to root for my guy, right? But at some point, you got to realize, like what I did with Rask. I was never a Rask guy. Like he was a great goalie. He was never the goalie you needed when you need him. This guy's not even showing me great goalie. Like, what do you want me to
Right.
do? I,
I kind of
anyways,
want to. You got to add me to this like chat because I would love to see just the I don't know, just grasping for fucking air as to how this guy is like worth it. I personally don't see it.
no, I don't either.
I don't see him any different than the whole fucking Pens lineup for goaltending.
Right.
I just you don't get excited about them when there's a break. Use this for measure. Whenever there's a breakaway, how does your gut feel when you got him there? You're like, this is it, this
There's
is it.
always a breakaway. There's always a
Always
breakaway, and there's always a goal in the back of the net, and it sucks. And it's not
right.
just him; it's Corpusalo too. I mean, like I don't trust either of them. Listen, I want to get off of this, so we got to wrap this up. I want to say one more thing on the Bruins, though. What do I expect now? Now that we've kind of settled into this new coach, he's got 6 games. Well, the defense definitely turned it around. I expect us to start losing. less high volume games, but not winning yet until we make
Mhm.
something happen at the forward group. And the truth is I really just want to see Don drop his ego and do exactly what the Penguins did. And I want to see that Lars Eller trade. Trent Frederick and Morgan Geekie are not it. I love Trent. I
Right.
truly need them gone.
But now's your time to do something with these kids and just see if something can spark. Because when I was watching Pasta there, it's like, how come, even with like, I was upset with the Gensel trading yada yada, but Michael Bunting's there to pick up rebounds and tip them in. And they're starting to utilize them properly too. That's why I'm kind of also a little excited about that. But
Hmm.
how come they're not training anybody on Pasta's lines to just be like, just linger around the fucking net and really fight for that? Somebody needs to pick up some bodies there because the rebounds off of Pasta for his shooting percentage and how little of goals that are going in is like should be a story for some science going forward here because it's like what the fuck, how is that even possible? I just
Right.
don't understand how there's like whenever I see him shoot there is nobody there to help
Yep.
from the games that I've been watching there. That's super frustrating because I want to see
Especially
Pasta. This is
since
weird coming from me, but I want to see Pasta just fucking be that guy. I want to see him take over numbers, and he easily can. He is fantastic, and that Cooper bucket was sick. But I want somebody to just be just have like just an eyesight as to where that puck is going to go, and try to get position yourself better. I don't see anybody positioning themselves in front of that net for him, and then now you're looking at your 5-3 games. You could tip in three of those fucking rebounds off of Pasta, who's shooting 1,100 goals a night. Do something with it. Stand there. It's going to go off a skate. Like
it blows my
let
mind too,
let it
man,
turn.
because he's completely covered. So that means you should be in front of the net open,
That's what I'm
but they're
saying. And
not.
they're not in there. They're not where they're supposed to be. It's
And I'll tell
fundamental. It's just basic fundamental.
and when they are, I've seen so many times Zaka that's on his stick, empty net, and it's just fucking over the glass behind him. I mean, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like, whatever.
Yeah.
All right. Freddie and Geek. I want to see. I want to see something return for them, and I think it's time you bring up Lascelles, Merkulov, all these younger guys, and just let them have the ice. I mean, dude, they're Freddie and Geeky are not putting goals in, and so if you think Lascelles and Merk aren't, well, nothing changed. If they don't come up and score, well, nothing changed. So
Yeah,
maybe you
man.
just start recouping some picks for these guys, because, like, dude,
And it's
it's
amazing
time
what
we
kids want
shake
to do
up
when
that third
they
line.
need to earn some tape. They really want to get their name out and make them a little bit more valuable for a trade if they need to somewhere down the
Right.
road. But like, give those younger guys a chance because you can see them just have a fire underneath their ass, and that's probably what you need, just a little bit more of an edge. And then you're gonna start watching these pasta rebounds turn into goals, and that can change a whole lot. But you guys seem to be fucking somehow. Every time I check the standings, you seem to be falling forward. Like every time I
Well,
watch
we're
Boston,
third.
I'm like, you fucking suck, and you're just slipping into third somehow. How the fuck does this happen?
Well, the truth is, man, is like everyone, but like, okay. I don't like it, but the Buffalo Sabres are one game worse than us. The fuck? Like, I
And that's
don't
because
understand, dude.
Tage has been hurt for a couple games. They were catching fire, man. That they look like a solid team too, but the injuries plague that team unfortunately. But they're actually starting to look like not a dumpster fire, which I did call. We'll fucking throw that out there too.
They are a
But
dumpster fire, so before you call it, realize what you're calling.
they
Okay?
don't need to be
They're
there.
fucking but are they worse than the Bruins? No. No, they're not. They're neg 1. We're neg 16. I know that's not the only factor, and I keep going to it, but I mean, when the last 10 are the same statistics, 5, 4, and 1, and the teams are exactly the same there, well, then that's bad because I don't want to be the same as the Buffalo Sabres, okay? That's not what I'm interested in doing here. All right, wrapping this shit up. Um, yeah, fuck this. Just fuck. Ugh. I
Oh,
think I
man,
think the
well,
next time we meet, which by the way, we're going back to weekly. Um, next time we meet up, hopefully both of us have something positive to say. I know you have a tough schedule. I have not paid attention to forward with the Bruins here. This is crazy month for everyone, holidays and work gets nuts and blah blah blah. But I just like hope I can catch them moving forward and falling upward, like you mentioned. And if we get into, January and we're second or third, things change. My
Yeah, I
tune
mean
will
that's when it
change.
really matters. That's when it really matters. That's when real hockey season starts. So we're getting there.
Yep.
It's almost over the hump, and then we're about to see a lot of teams dig a little bit harder too. So yeah, hopefully our teams can just kind of keep up with some momentum. I just want to see the Penguins fight. It's honestly the only thing I want to see. I had
Same.
little expectations, but when I see the Pens have that just that foot on the gas a little bit, they can do some incredible things, no matter how
I
good
hear
they
you.
are. So hopefully we have some more light shows here. And yeah, who do you guys got have coming up this week?
I
Or
don't
yeah,
fucking
this upcoming
care.
one?
I don't know or care. Who
You
who
should.
are we who are we playing tomorrow? Uh Red Wings tomorrow.
Red Wings. Look at
Then
that. You
then
guys,
the
listen,
then the
things should be okay.
Blackhawks.
There you go. Philly, and
Oh,
then,
we're winning the cup, buddy.
buddy.
This is cup stuff. This is
I mean,
cup stuff here.
Winnipeg's lessening up here. They're kind of evening out a little bit.
Buddy.
So
Buddy.
who's Winnipeg when the Boston Bruins are coming in hot? You know. So
Buddy. Let me break this down. We got the Wings, then we got the Hawks, then we got the Flyers, dude.
yeah.
I'm talking about winning the cup, baby.
Listen,
Cup
right here,
championships.
right here, pal.
Nobody's taking it from us. We fucking suck. We're gonna lose to all three of these teams. I'm gonna fucking kill myself. Can we go?
Probably, dude.
Can we wrap this
Bedard's gonna
shit?
have fucking
100 points.
hat
A
trick,
hundred
100 points,
goals, dude.
a
Fucking
hundred goals.
loser.
All
All
right.
right.
Well, this has been another not a good hockey pod.
It's a terrible hockey pod. I hate it
It's
here.
so bad. I fucking can't stand it.
Beer.